So good morning, everyone, and welcome to our first webinar. My name is Rhoda Ndoti. I'll be coordinating today's session. It's good to hear from you. As the months have gone by, the impact of COVID-19 continues to affect every business and organization. We find ourselves in very unfamiliar territories. The dusk to dawn curfew, the cessation of movements in and out of a few counties, and the working from home concept. Amidst all this, we still expected to meet our individual and corporate objectives. We understand the challenges that come with remote working, and that's why we are all here. So before I even introduce the team that will be facilitating, I would like to invite Teresa.
Good morning, everyone. So this is like the 6th week we are experiencing the remote working, and work productivity has been affected in one way or the other. And that's why we are looking for experts to talk to us in different aspects, the issues we are going through right now and how to deal with them, because we have to balance between the work and the other life out there in our new offices. So you'll be invited to ask any questions, the challenges you're going through, and you'll be advised on how best you can be able to tackle without affecting your efficiency. So we'll give the opportunity to our facilitator, Purity. They have been our partner. We have done trainings with them before, and they are supporting us this time we are at home. So thank you so much, Purity, and we look forward to a very interactive session.
Okay, thank you.
So welcome, Purity. Just a little bit of introduction. Purity and the team are from Accurex Leadership and Management Consultants. They'll be helping us to unpack how to be productive during this COVID-19 pandemic. They'll also be sharing with us the tricks and the tips of remote working. So as Teresa has said, let's feel free to go to chat and give all our questions. The session will be taking 1 hour, and there will be a 30 minutes question and answer session. So as we continue, just drop your questions. We shall address in the last half an hour. So Dorothy and Purity will be our coordinators, stroke the facilitators. Dorothy Lavuna is a corporate trainer with over 7 years of experience and is also a lecturer at Daystar University, while Purity Wanjiru is the director for Accurex Leadership and Management Consultants Limited. Purity brings in a wealth of experience in learning and development, organizational development, leadership, and management. So I take this opportunity to welcome Purity and her team. Kindly take over.
Thank you so much, Rhoda. Good morning to everyone. I hope you are all well this bright morning. It's a bit sunny where I am, so it's a break from the cold mornings I've been having here. I look forward to a very interactive, interesting session because, as Rhoda is saying, these are very unprecedented times. For the first time in my career, I've found myself in the house for over 6 weeks. And the first 2 weeks were the worst for me because I felt so lost. And by today, I feel like I'm getting the gist of working from home or working without really necessarily meeting with people on a physical basis. So it's a learning journey for us as well. And when you talk to different people, you're able to get different points of view. They tell you what is working for them and what is not working. And from the interaction I had with Rhoda, she told me part of you are working from home, others are still going to work. So you see, maybe the people who are working from home, they feel, I'm so lucky I don't have to interact with this disease every other day. Well, maybe those who are going to work, they're like, I wish I was working from home. So you see, there's a very thin balance where we can be able to balance working from home, especially for your team, and those who are actually going to work. So we have divided this segment into two. I'll do the first bit for enhancing productivity. Dorothy will introduce herself very briefly, then we can take it from there.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, Dorothy.
I'm looking
Hi.
forward to. Hi. I'm looking forward to my session, guys. Allow Purity to start, and then when I come online, we can continue. But I'm glad to be here.
All right. Karibu sana, Dorothy, and everyone from Adrian. I know a few of you have met with us previously, so it's good to meet all of you. Today it's even a much larger team, so I'm very excited to see how this event goes. So when we talk about enhancing productivity during the COVID-19 pandemic, this is our today's topic. And whenever we have or we go through a crisis, there is need for change, and change must happen, if not suddenly, but it has to go on continuously. I don't know if you can hear me, Rhoda or Dorothy, can you confirm?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, thank you. I thought I lost you for a minute there. Okay, let's continue. So when we talk about crises or pandemics like the one we are experiencing today of COVID-19, we from time to time we keep asking ourselves, and where is our space for for jobs or work? Because today a lot of us are working at home, something maybe you've never even experienced before, and you keep asking yourself, am I even meeting my work expectations, etc. So to help us go through this particular topic, we are going to view different perspectives of work, and especially managing productivity and performance, because I think today everybody is on edge. If I'm productive enough, is there space for my skills or abilities in the marketplace today? We've seen so many organizations, a lot of them have put their employees on hold or suspended their services. So it's a whole mixed feeling going around, not only here in Kenya, but in the world as well. So to help us tackle these productivity, my first question will be, do you know what is effective and what is efficient? Because productivity is a break or a balance between the two. At one point, you have to be very effective. At the other point, you have to be very efficient. So when we talk about productivity, as lame as it could come, it could be increased work output. Like the job that you normally do day in, day out. I know for Adrian, most of you have very different skill sets. Not all of you do the same work. So when you are told, I want you to be productive, what it basically means is, I want you to increase your work output. And someone will react and say, Sawa, then I will put more hours to work. That is productivity. But to be able to enhance this productivity, you have to be able to be effective on one hand and very efficient on the other hand. From my screen, I hope you're able to see my screen as well.
Yes.
Okay, Sawa.
Yeah.
All right. So by being effective, it means getting the right output. Because you could be doing all these sorts of work, but if you're not be able to get the right output, then you're not being productive. For example, the one put in quotes, I will focus on tasks that support my vision. And today it's very unpredictable. You might want to be to give the right output as possible. However, you find yourself like maybe you don't even have the necessary skills. I've been looking online and seeing employees, especially the initial days we were told to work from home. They were saying, Sawa, we can work from home. But working from home requires us to have internet, requires us to have a laptop, requires us to have a desk. You see, as much as you would want to give the right output, if you don't have even the right things or inputs to help you facilitate the production process, then it becomes a problem. I'll give you an example. One of my clients has some employees based in India. This particular client, in India, they don't stay the way we stay here in Kenya. Like if you're 18, you can rent your own house, you can live alone. There they live with their grandparents, uncles, aunties, brothers, sisters. It's a whole crowd in a given house. Then this particular lady is told to work from home. When she works from home, they expect her to wash the dishes, clean the house, and actually those are office hours. So you see, there's a very, as much as you would want to give the right output, the process could also be interfered with. Then let's move to efficient. Efficient means less input per unit of output. You could produce 100 bags of sugar, for example. You need how many sticks of sugarcane? A lot, I guess. And you'll want to be efficient. It means you don't need to produce to use 1,000 sticks of sugarcane to produce a kilo of sugar. That is what it means. Like you can use 50 or 500 sticks of sugarcane to produce a kilo of sugar. So by being efficient is using the least amount of even effort to be able to produce as much output as you could or as possible as it can be. So you can say to yourself, the quote down there, I will optimize my use of resources. Because today is becoming, today it's very unprecedented. You're saying, like yesterday, I was thinking I need another Wi-Fi supplier, for example, because the time that I'm very busy, my internet goes down. So I was like, I need someone else to supply me substitute internet in the house. In case one goes down, the other one is up. So you need to optimize your use of resources. Moving on, what is a crisis? I think this one we've discussed more than enough times. You've had it over and over again. Like a crisis is an event that is going to lead to an unstable and dangerous situation affecting individuals, groups, community, and the whole society. That is according to Wikipedia. And for sure today, this crisis we have with COVID-19, it's affecting individuals, groups, communities, the whole society, something that you could never have thought. I never thought a cold would make us stay at home for all this long. And we're still not so sure when you're going to resume back to work. So that is what a crisis is. And a crisis, I think I'm going to mute people. Okay, I have muted everyone so that we can communicate more better. So a crisis like the one that we are having, it's causing a lot of instability. I saw the time that it was announced that Kenya is going on a lockdown. I remember I was in Kilifi back then. And in the afternoon, I saw photos circulating on social media. People in the supermarket, they're flocking, they're buying goods, they're buying tissue paper. From our last webinar, we were told tissue papers were used for face masks. That one I did not know. But the thought that came to my mind was like, by the time I get to Nairobi, will I even find anything on supermarket shelf? So that is what a crisis causes us. It makes us go on panic mode, like you're not so sure, like what will be enough for me at this particular time. So as you continue to handle this crisis, also during a crisis is a time when difficult and important decisions must be made. For example, for the case of your organization, Adrian, someone had to make the call that people have to work from home, and others to remain and work from different workstations across Kenya or across the region where you guys cover. So you see, it's a difficult decision. And this difficult decision, we continue seeing it even with our clients, our friends, our family. Because, for example, we were talking with another client the other day. They were like, Purity, me, I can't do this anymore. I think I'm going to release a few people and have a few people on pay cuts. That's a very difficult but important decision someone has to make. And you don't want to get to that point. But crisis normally makes us to reach to that particular point. So what can we learn from there? So when you talk about productivity or enhancing productivity, I know this one you've also come across it at one point or the other, the smarter goals. Others know SMART, but today we are going a little further to smarter goals. Sorry for that. Because this is just a reminder, because you're trying to promote productivity or enhance productivity. Whether you are working on site where you have to interact with the world every day, or you are working from home where you are set aside or pulled apart from the world. So because if you want to be productive, then you must be able to set the right goal. And when you talk about the right goals, it means smarter goals. So very quickly, I'll take you through the smarter goals. Number one is specific, that stands for S. M is for measurable. A, attainable. R, realistic. T, time bound. E, evaluate. R, reward. Because whether you're working from home or you are still working, you're still going to work. This is a guideline that should be able to lead you every other day. Because when you talk about specific goals, like you have to rely on numbers most of the time. Also, to be specific, we are having a meeting tomorrow at 11. You see, that one is very, very specific. Then whichever goal you want to set, it has to be measurable. Like I'm giving you a task that is going to run for 2 days. Let us circle back in 2 days and see what the progress you have made. You see, that one is measurable. Then attainable, because I think in this forum we have both managers, we have people who report to other people. That is what I'm thinking is made up of this forum. So for those who are managers or supervisors, or if you have a reportee, let's say that. If you have a reportee at this particular time, you have to be very keen on the goals that you're giving them. It could be your normal work, because when we are working from offices, I think it was very easy because I could walk to your desk or walk to your office and give you an instruction. But today there's very minimal face interaction. So you need to, as much as you're able to communicate, your communication has to be very clear, but also, especially for work goals, it has to be smarter. So realistic, something that can be achieved, or something that it is practical, Then time bound. Whenever you have to set goals, then they have to have a time limit. Like we're doing this in the next 1 week, or we're doing this in the next 2 weeks, in the next 2, 3, 4 days. It has to have a timeline. The purpose of having a timeline is because you don't want goals or work agendas to go for too long. You don't want that. You want, as soon as I'm able to finish on this, then we can start on another task. Then evaluate. Evaluate is very important. Whenever you set a goal, you need to sit down and evaluate. How far did we come? What were the challenges in achieving this particular task? What could we have done better? what could we have done differently, for example. So that is where evaluate comes. Then we have reward. Reward, I know whenever I talk about rewards, most employers look at me like, what is the cost of rewards? By rewards don't necessarily mean it has to come with a cost attached to it. It could be a simple thing as clapping for people, like Purity did a very good job this week or this month. We were able to meet the target that we had set. Let us clap for her. It's the simple things. It could be an email you sent to your team, like, this month we want to acknowledge Purity for having done this good work. Let us congratulate her. It's the simple things. Moving on, I see Raj, you have raised your hand. I don't know if you have a question or we can continue. Okay, let's continue. Moving on, motivation for self and teams. If you're able to join us yesterday, we had a webinar on self and team motivation, because we feel like during this time, whether you are working from home or you're working, all right, I have muted him. Whether you're working from home or you're still going to work, motivation is very key at this particular time. Why do you think, or why do we want to say motivation is very key? Because these are not normal times. These are not what we have always been used to. Some mornings I wake up, I don't want to get out of bed, and I wonder, who you ni mimi? Because normal days, before even all these crises, I was always out of bed before 5. Today, I still find myself in bed at 8 a.m. and I'm wondering, what is wrong with me? And this is where now motivation comes in. Like, you need to keep motivating yourself. And for those of us who work in teams, not necessarily as team leaders, but whichever position we hold, but we work in teams, there's this huge need today to become part of the team, and especially part of the work that is done to keep the team motivated. So what is motivation? Motivation is a factor that encourages people to give their best performance and help in reaching goals. So it's a factor of encouraging people. Because the way I'm telling you, sometimes I wake up at 8 a.m., I don't feel like talking to anyone. But that is the same day that my team is relying on me to help them motivate them. So I have to first encourage myself, get out of bed, then pick up the day from there. And it is continuous. With motivation, you can't say, nitaifanya leo, and you are done. It's not possible. It's a continuous journey. You have to keep encouraging yourself, keep motivating your team, because during this particular period of time, I think motivation will take us a longer way than not being motivated. So self-motivation, very quickly, is the ability to do what needs to be done without influence from other people or situation. So the way it says is the ability to do what needs to be done. If you have to do work, you still have to do it. Whether there's a lot of negativity going around you, or there is a lot of unpredictable events happening around you, you still have to do what needs to be done. Then a self-motivated person can find a reason and strength to complete a task, even when challenging, without giving up or needing another to encourage them. So, especially when we talk about productivity, motivation is number one. You can't avoid motivating yourself. Like, you just have to find your source of inspiration or motivation. Yesterday we were being told it could be religion, it could be an activity you do, it could be gymming. or you go for a run, or you go for a jog, or eating your favorite food. I know many of us will have a problem after this crisis because of the weight we have gained. But you have to find something that motivates you. Even when things are bad, you have to find something that motivates you. Because from motivating yourself, that's when you're able to move to the next level to motivate others and your team. So having said that, how to motivate yourself and your teams. Number one is steer yourself. Now, when we talk about steer yourself, it means it starts with you. You can't, I hear a quote going around that says, you can't draw from a well that is dry. So you have to be the well that is full so that you're able to overflow to other people. Then point two is make a plan. What is this particular plan? And this one, I think, this one is very practical for me. Now I know my mental clock no longer wakes up at 5. It wakes up around 7:30, 8ish. So you have to come up with a plan. I wake up at 8. I live alone, so I have to make my house to look in order. You have to do dishes. I have to do my breakfast. Then sit down for work until maybe 2 p.m. Have a lunch. Work until maybe 4, 5 p.m. Take a nap until 7. Wake up, pick up from work again, do dinner, etc. So you see, that's the plan. And having that plan, especially for the last like 2 or 3 weeks, it has given me a sense of direction. I'm no longer as lost as I was 14th of March. Because now I know, as much as I wake up when the sun is out, but now I know this is how my day normally looks like. So then number 3 is navigate your conversation with care. This one you have to be very conscious or consider your audience. Who are you talking to? Because this crisis, as much as it has affected all of us, others have been more affected than others. And you just need to know your audience. Because these conversations, as much as they're work-oriented or work-focused conversations, you need to know I think we call it empathy. Like, you need to be more aware of the person you're talking to. I know Dorothy will say it's emotional intelligence. Like, you just need to be just aware of who you are surrounded, you are interacting with, for example. Then number 4 is be humble. We don't know how all this will end. We don't know if it will end tomorrow, an year from now, 2 years from now. As much as you might think you have all the facts right, but just try to be humble about it. This entire crisis, we're not so sure how it will all end. So just be humble about it. Number 5, don't sugarcoat. This is especially when you're communicating work goals or work information. Because if you sugarcoat it, it's going to backfire on you. And you don't want that. Just give people facts as they come. Because if today we are working from home, for example, in another 2 or 3 weeks, maybe we should go back to work. We are not so sure. Even me, I'm not so sure. So tunarudi kazi lini, you don't want to say next week, or you don't want to say 2 weeks from now. So this helps you to be on the safer side by not sugarcoating things. If you don't have the facts right, just tell them, let me confirm from someone else, then get back to you. Number 6, it's be responsible. And responsibility, we can't insist enough. Because when we are working from home, there's that sense of there's not as much monitoring as it could be or could have been when I'm in the office. So you just have to be able to take responsibility. And by taking responsibility is just do what is required of you. Because if I was in the office and I'm able to deliver at 100%, then the same should happen whether I'm in or out of the office. The last one is try to be consistent. We know every other day we are having new information getting to us, especially regarding the disease. But then you have to be just try to be very consistent. What you said in the last meeting, let it be in sync with what you're going to say in this meeting or in the following meeting that comes. You'll see this for this particular slide, I gave it the heading, how to motivate yourself and communication. Because the only way we are going to survive out of all this, especially in terms of our work and productivity, is communication. Communication is the backbone of everything that you are doing today. Because if I'm not able to walk to your desk, then I rely on the call or the email that you sent to me to be correct so that I'm able to deliver to the next level. So I think I have one more slide to go. Yes, creating a great place to work. If you've had me talk before, this is a very common, or this is a very close topic to my heart, creating a great place to work. And when I was preparing for this particular presentation, I was like, how can people of Adrian create a great place to work? Whether you're working from home or you're working from a site or you still have to go to the office, how are you able to create a great place to work? Because the only way to improve or enhance productivity is having a great place to work. And last year, I think we discussed this particular topic more than enough times, because every training we were doing, we were ending like, we need to create a great place to work. Number one, take the pressure off. Today we have so many pressure from everything. The economy is crashing on our eyes. Things are not just going okay for so many people. And you're like, you don't want life pressure to be combined with work pressure. Especially this, it's for everyone. Take the pressure off. We will get back to work when we get back to work. But in the meantime, we can make do with what we have or at our disposal. As much as you want that report delivered at 5 p.m., try to take the pressure off. Recently, I saw a family conflict. These people are living in the same house. I don't know what happened actually. So from nowhere, they started shouting to each other. So when I tried to get to the bottom of the issue, they were like, it's too much pressure, because as the breadwinner, the breadwinners today, I think they are on a lot of more pressure to provide for their families than before. The mother is trying to keep the family afloat, the children. So all this is bubbling or it's bursting out on people. And you don't want, especially work, to be a factor that is adding on to this pressure. You're already under enough pressure. So try to take the pressure off. As much as we still have to work, but try to bring that work pressure a tone down. It will, people's morale, motivation will at least feel, as much as I'm fighting all these demons on the side, work is not one of the demons I have to fight. Number 2, practice active, frequent, and honest communication. Under communication, we can't say it more than enough times. Communication, communication, communication. Especially at this time. We need to come out of this crisis better communicators. If we were not before the crisis, then after the crisis, we need to become better communicators. Today, you can't assume ameona. You know, you see when you send an email, you're like, kila mtu aliona. Sometimes you'll need to send a follow-up email. Sometimes you might have to call them and ask them, did you actually see that email? And so we need to keep becoming better communicators in this process. Number 3, this one I've seen with another organization, hosting meetings without agendas. This one they have these hosting meetings without agenda. They do it every 1 hour per day. This is something you could try for your organization. This 1 hour, it's a Zoom meeting. So someone can log in, chat with whoever is there, and leave. Like it's a coffee break. I don't know how your office is set up, but at our office, at tea time, we have it around 10 a.m. 10 a.m. we find people where we normally serve tea and coffee. People go there, they surround the coffee table, you have a chat. How is your family? So this particular organization, they're doing this every day on Zoom. Like they open the Zoom forum, whoever is available, they can join in. They can join in even with their children, whoever are working from home and they have children, just to chat with the other person who's on the other side. So I don't know how that will work for you, but you can try it. The next one is ask about your employees' family. All of us come from families. Others are close families, others are extended families. You don't know who might have been sick from this crisis and they're part of your employees' family. So go the extra mile. Show that you care, because I think that's the only thing will take us through this particular time. Number 5 is remind employees about resources available to them. I don't know what kind of resources are available to your family. It could be you have a counselor or a psychologist or someone or something that is available to these employees. As much as all of us are not going to the office, maybe your office is still open. So you can tell them, if you are bored at home, you can come and work from the office for an hour or so. So just tell your employees or remind them what kind of resources are available to them. Number 6, which is very similar to number 4, is caring during a crisis. I know especially for me, when I had let's work from home, I was like, okay, pressure imepungua, because I don't have to keep interacting with people every other day. But 2 weeks in, I was like, I need to call a few people just to find out how they're going or how they are doing, how are they dealing with the crisis. And that is the caring element. Because if this thing had ended within the first 2 weeks, I could not have called anyone. But today now I'm making it a habit. At least every other day I need to call at least one person I've not talked to in a while, just to find out how they are faring on. So this is caring. You just have to be caring. Even if it's not in your element, try to get to that point. Then establish clear, consistent business processes. Yes, establish clear, consistent business processes. I know I am trying to think about how Adrian is operating at this point. Having part of you are at work, part of you are still working from home. Because maybe you are reporting to someone who is working from home, or you are reporting to someone who is working, like going to work. So you see, there is need to establish, like we just need to have meetings between maybe 10 and 11 every other day, or I need reports from you every other end of the week. Like just have to establish very clear and consistent business processes during this time. 7 or 8, adapt to change quickly and thoughtfully. I don't know if you heard about this. If you don't change, change changes you. You don't want change to change you. So the better part of change is to adapt to it quickly and thoughtfully. Because I remember that day the president said we are on a 21 days lockdown, the initial one. I was out of Nairobi. I was like, oh God, nimefungiwa huku. And I was like, how am I able to adapt? Because I had already created a system in my house that I was working around during the crisis. But now I'm locked outside of Nairobi, outside of my house or home, and I had to adjust very fast to be able to cover my work or do my work effectively and efficiently. So that is adapting to change. And if you've not already adapted to the change of the crisis we have today, then I think you're in a lot of trouble. Then the last one is create room for flexibility. All of us are different in our own way. And by being different, others are a bit quick, others are a bit sharp, others are a bit more enthusiastic, their outlook of life. All these, we are different in our own ways. But then for those who are lagging or are a bit slow, are we giving them the room for flexibility? Because with productivity or work operations, we have to be able to embrace everyone in our own way. So I will stop there. I'm open to questions. Feel free to drop the questions on the chat box. I've already seen one question. We'll answer it at the end of the forum. So feel free. I'll hand it over to Dorothy to take us to the next part. Then let's see how this goes. Thank you.
Thank you, Purity. You've laid a good foundation for the class. Please confirm that you can hear me, Purity.
Yes, I can.
Okay, very good. So Purity has laid a foundation and she's spoken mainly about working in general. I'm now going to focus on working from home because that is our new reality right now.
Yeah.
And some of you might be thinking that, oh, after COVID-19, this is not going to be a thing. I think now that we have a new way of doing things, this is here to stay. I am personally a lecturer, and kindly go to the next slide, Purity.
Okay.
Fine. Personally, I'm a lecturer and I've been teaching online, and there have been many challenges. They've been, first of all, I never thought that I would ever have to conduct a class online like this. There are issues of, bundles. Some students can't afford bundles. The challenges are always there. But we have learned something new. Sometimes problems come into the world, into your life, to teach you what you are capable of. So I've learned a lot about myself. Even my students have learned a lot of things. And, we are tunaendelea like that as we keep going. So how do we work productively at home? Let's start with what are some of the challenges that we have been facing from working at home. And it's okay. Some of you can relate to what I'm talking about. Some of you, not so much. But I like that I have experienced this real time. So I'm speaking from my real place. The first challenge of working from home is loneliness. Some people, like myself, I live by myself. Purity knows I have 2 cats. It's not quite the same thing. Animals can't speak to you. But the loneliness of being, she has just spoken about being able to go to the cafeteria and sitting with people. You don't have that anymore. The ability to be able to high-five someone, the interaction of you're sitting at your desk and someone else is seated at the desk and you can lean over and say, well, tunaenda kunywa chai saa ngapi? That is not there. So there's loneliness. Work distractions. You might be wondering what distractions these are. Sometimes maybe you are working on one project and someone else is demanding you to deal with a different project. Those 2 things are clashing. So those are work distractions. The third one is domestic distractions. Obviously, this one is there. I don't think I have to belabor this one. Many of you have children, the child wants your attention. Some of you, it is, your neighbors. The neighbors are doing construction. The neighbors are fighting, like Purity is saying. And, that is another factor. People are drinking all of a sudden. Copious amounts of alcohol. People are drinking. The neighbor is always coming home drunk. All manner of things. They're saying that domestic violence has gone up since this time of COVID. I'm sure you've seen the people are being burnt with hot water, people are being burnt in their cars, etc. And those are just the ones which made the news. The stories are endless. So these are domestic distractions. Keeping your edge is another. Some of us are one person at home and another person at work. And the reason why you like it this way is because you are able to put on one hat, take it off and put it on, elsewhere. And the putting on the hat elsewhere it keeps you on the cutting edge. You're more professional at work. But now that you're at home, keeping that professional, I was watching CNN the other day, and there's this gentleman who he was being interviewed on CNN, and he got dressed, he put on his suit, but he forgot to put on his pants. I don't know if you've seen that. He didn't put on his trousers. So he didn't know, he thought that they would interview him from the waist upwards. Turns out they could see his boxers. Those are some of the things that you need to keep in mind, especially when you're working from home. Then, of course, being your own office manager is a challenge. Some of us are more followers than leaders. Getting into this mindset of, okay, now my time is mine. Do I have a program? And I would encourage everyone to put something written down and put it on the wall. Say, wake up, have breakfast, help Toto with her homework, maybe go to the market if that is necessary. Have a full week, a full week schedule for you to follow so that you don't fall off. But some people, it's a struggle. Some people, even if they have that written, it's still difficult to follow. Let's look at how to overcome some of these challenges very quickly. Overcoming these distractions, because there are many distractions. Number one, keep your schedule. Treat each day like you're going into the office. Get dressed like you're going to the office. When this whole thing started, I really, the first class I taught over Zoom, I was like, see, I'm at home. Who cares? I put on a hoodie and I was just in my natural habitat. Little did I know that some of my students were taking screenshots. And one of my students is very famous. She's a famous model. I won't tell you her name, but do I say I teach models? But she took my picture and she posted it on her Instagram. And she said, e-learning from home. It was the worst picture I had ever seen of myself. And after that, I said, from now on, whenever I come online to teach, I have to dress up. I have to do a bit of, facial grooming, etc. I have to hold my hair. I had to really step up my game because I realized that if I didn't do that, I would have regressed into bad behavior. So keep your schedule. Treat each day like you're going to the office. Get dressed, follow the schedule, create, number two, designate an office space. I'm lucky that I have a room separately with a desk and a table that I can usually sit, and it at least puts me in the mindset of learning. Some of you, I'm sure, are looking at me like, so how am I supposed to do that? You can put aside a place in your bedroom, put a corner in your bedroom, find a desk or something like that. Make it, be innovative. Find a corner in the office, in your bedroom, and say, this is my office. Tell your children, kids, this is my office. When I'm here, no one to disturb me. Let the house help know. Let everyone know that this place, even if it means to demarcate it with a red tape or something, so that everyone knows that this place is work. And when you come out of there, you say, as long as I'm here, mimi niko ofisi. Nikitoka sasa, we can discuss other things. Every now and then, take breaks. Don't forget to do that. Something I also discovered, because the first 2 weeks I hardly left the house, and I started noticing my skin was deteriorating. So I happened to come across some articles saying that people were complaining about their skin was getting bad during this period, and the answer basically was vitamin D. Take some time out and get out of your house and sit outside and feel the sun on yourself. The sun, even we have been told, is during this COVID-19, they have said, apparently, the studies are still going on. They're saying that the disease does not like the sun. That vitamin D, you heard President Trump at some point saying that we should use UV rays. they were laughing at him, but he was saying maybe we could find a way of taking UV rays and putting them inside. What are UV rays? UV rays is the sun. And we are blessed that in Africa we have the sun. Take a break and sit outside, especially in the morning at around 10 o'clock. Sit outside. It does wonders for your health. It builds your immunity. It improves your skin. The fresh air will do you good. Take a walk within the estate. It is necessary. It's very easy for you to become a couch potato if you're not careful. Then limit the distractions as much as possible. Number 2 and number 4 go hand in hand, because if you have a designated place, it helps you to be able to put away those distractions. This takes self-discipline. The Purity has been talking about self-motivation and self-discipline. You have to figure out what are the biggest distractions and how to deal with them. For most of us, I know the main distraction is our children. Children, especially now that they can't go outside to play, they want to sit on your lap. They want to, they don't want the maid to feed them. They want you to feed them. They want you to help them with homework. They're scared. Maybe they don't know what is going on because they probably watched TV and they saw something scary. People are dying, etc. We need to find a way to also engage them. When you're planning your schedule, also plan a schedule for your children that they know when they wake up, they're supposed to go and, they have a corner somewhere and they play, find a way. This is a time for innovation. I can't make you think beyond what you want to think. Like I said, problems help us to see just how innovative we are. Then plan ahead, of course. My students are starting exams next week. I've already set the exams for them. They're going to do them online. We have already planned with them how they're going to do it. Those who are unable to get internet, I've told them, download the exam, write it down on a piece of paper in good handwriting, take a picture, send it to me. I have planned ahead. The whole of next week is ready. Then stay connected and communicate. Purity has mentioned that. Take time every day and call someone. Or call your mom, call your siblings, call someone. We were made as interactive beings. Now, that being said, we have seen what distractions are there. We've seen how to overcome the distractions. But we can't forget that even if we have overcome these distractions, work still has to be done. Because it is very easy for me to say, okay, watoto wamekula, the kids are out there, they're playing. I have dressed up, I've dressed for success. Okay. And then I come and I sit on my computer and I achieve nothing. I ask you, what have you done? Your time yote ulikuwa kwa ofisi. What have you done? I can't really tell you, but it has been a very good day at the office. How do you ensure that you are actually productive after you have overcome all of those challenges? So next slide, please, Purity. Now, how do we measure our productivity at home? How do we ensure that our productivity can be measured? We have to quantify. There's the qualitative aspect of our work and there's the quantitative aspect. The qualitative aspect is how well you do the thing. Things that they are not tangible, but you can gauge the quality of something, but not tangibly. Like if I say, how was your day? It was nice. That is qualitative. I can't say it was 100 nice or it was 3 nice. Now, we want to look at the quantitative aspect of working at home. Number 1, maintain a results-oriented culture. Just because you're at home does not mean that the results have changed, that you don't have to give results. At the end of the day, money still has to be made. The company still has to make money and justify why you're still there. If you're not adding any value to the company, even at home, then you know what is going to happen. And I'm not trying to scare anyone. I'm just saying things matter of factly. And whether you're working here or even if you're working in church one day or whatever, this is something to always remember. If you're not adding value to a place, then the best choice for any leader, any manager, is to get rid of you. You never want that to happen. You want to prove yourself invaluable. In fact, this is the best time to shine. You want your bosses to still feel your presence. So remain result oriented. Number 2, set clear goals and deadlines. Purity has spoken about setting smarter goals. Set the short-term goals. Set a goal for every hour. Set a goal for half the day. Set a goal for 1 full day. Set a goal for 2 days. There's a friend of mine who works at a call center, but she works from home. She does, it's called, they do insurance. They call insurance companies. I forget how she explained it, but every day she is supposed to have called at least 50 people in a day. Now, you can look at it like 50 people a day, or you can break those calls down. Do the math when you're in your own free time. How many calls would I have to make? 50 calls in a day divided by 7 hours. Let me not say 8 hours, because of course there'll be an hour for a break. If you break it down and you say every hour, I'm going to make sure that I do at least 5 calls or 6 calls. At the end of the day, somehow I will have finished, I will have met my goal. If you say that it's 50 calls for the whole day, you might relax the whole day, you might go play with the kids, and then you're like, oh yeah, it's 4 hours to the end of the day. And then you go and sit down and you realize you're affecting the quality of the calls that you're making, because you left the quantity to the last section of the day. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, make smart goals. Form plans to increase accountability. As much as everyone is working at home, it is important for everyone to know their roles. Like, it shouldn't be ambiguous. You shouldn't assume that so and so is, if you're in the office, it's easy for me to lean over and ask, hey, Nani, are you the one who is doing A, B, C, D? Yes, no, and then we continue. But when you're working from home, it should be very clear what I'm supposed to achieve, whose responsibility is what. You need to know that so and so is handling customer service, or maybe this the customers in Langata region. Let me use my region because that's where I live. And so is handling the customers in a Western region, like that. Everyone needs to be very clear on what is they're responsible for. Because if you're not careful, you will come back after this quarantine and realize there's some things that fell through the cracks. People did not handle them. And now, those small things, it's in the Bible, the little foxes destroy the vineyard. The small things are usually the things that destroy big corporations. You can't afford to let such things slide. So be very clear and designate who is responsible for what. Track the progress on priorities. Remember, there's things that are urgent. But when we are discussing time management, there are those things which are urgent and those things which are important. If I had one day, I shall come over to your office and we shall discuss it a bit further. When this is all over, someone say hallelujah wherever you are. Amen. Anyway, if you know what is important and what is urgent, you will handle those things which are important and urgent first. The problem with most people is they deal with things which are not important and not urgent. Examples of things which are not important and not urgent. Gossiping is not important and it is not urgent. Do we need to catch up with people 100%? But it's not important, it's not urgent. If someone, when the quarantine began, was gifted a crate of beer, and you feel like, I don't know what it is about alcoholics that they feel the urgency. We need to finish it as quickly as possible. That is not important. It is not urgent. Put it aside. Remember, the weekend is still there. Believe it or not. There's still a Saturday. There's still a Sunday. The day after tomorrow is a holiday. 1st of May. I think it's Labor Day or something like that. Put those things on hold for that. Prioritize. Know what is important and what is urgent. Deal with it. There are those which are only important and they're not urgent. There are those things that are urgent and not important. Know the difference. Be able to prioritize. Then keep track of your hours and activities. Keep track of them. If I come to your house today if I did a random checkup on some of you who are working at home, and I asked, what have you achieved in the last 1 week? You ought to be able to show me a list of the things that you have achieved. You say, this month, and you know the month is coming to an end, and some of you will still expect your salaries. Yeah? You ought to be able, if your boss was to walk into your house right now and you say, 1, I made all the reports for this week. 2, I was able to win over 20 new customers. Right now, even 20 customers, and maybe if your target is 100, even 20, especially times like this, that is not something to be frowned at. It is still something commendable. Say I was able to, even say I was able to help my child with her homework. She's in class 8, she's a candidate. I helped her to do her assignments. That is something, but keep track of your activities. Why is it also important for you to keep track of your activities? Because it also gives you a sense of validation. It makes you feel good about yourself. That as much as I am working and I'm not being supervised, look at me. I've achieved something. You hold your head high. And the more you feel good about yourself, the more productive you become, the more you're able to achieve. And this is just even for, and another bonus of that, by the way, when now your children get a chance to truly watch and see what kind of a worker that you are. This is the chance for you to show your children a work ethic. They will say when they grow up, because this is very unique. Many children, even us, we will never be able to say that we saw our parents working from home. But they will be able to say, I remember during that time of the pandemic, my father was home. We watched him wake up. We watched him wear, okay, a suit is overkill. It's a bit too much, but at least dress decently. You were on the phone and your kids never slept hungry. This is the time also to think about outside the box and think about other job opportunities. There's so many things online to provide for your children. You know, the extra time you can actually do, depending on how productive you are, you can actually add on to what you're able to do. Then remember that there is the annual review. I don't know if you do performance management. I assume that you do. I assume that there is a what is it called? There is an appraisal that happens. Remember that appraisal is still going to happen. Think in your mind as if the appraisal is going to happen as if you were still in the office. Think like that. Think as if the boss is still going to calculate when they're doing the annual review. They're going to say, did this person used to come to work on time? Now you're at home. Think about that as if you are at home. I woke up on time and I went to my desk on time and I met my deadlines on time. The appraisal is still going to apply. It's very easy for you to say, and God forbid, may it never happen to any of you that at the end of the year, when they're doing the appraisal, you say, si unaelewa ilikuwa corona. It was corona that made me do that. Those are excuses. If I am your boss, next year, we will have a different discussion the coming work season. Then, if you are a supervisor, if you are a leader, if you are a manager, trust your employees. Trust that people, as much as you are keeping yourself accountable for yourself, trust that others are also keeping themselves accountable. Trust each other. Trust that if I give you a task, you're going to achieve it. Trust that if at the end of this thing, all of us are going to come out of this stronger and better and more informed, more educated. We're going to come, I believe with all my heart, by the way, that as a society, we're going to come out of this better. We've learned so much about what we are capable of doing. We have learned that the small things, washing your hands, washing your hands, we took it for granted. Now, I don't think we will ever take washing our hands for granted again. We took for granted the personal touch. I miss seeing my students. I miss being able to embrace a student who is crying. I miss being able to sit in the faculty lounge with other lecturers and interacting with them, sharing a cup of tea. I miss seeing Purity face to face like this, and her, giving me some management tips. We took that for granted. So I want to believe that after this whole thing, you will be better as Adrian, as employees, as people. Your families will be better out of it. I pray that I as a teacher, I'm told that you have a power to speak over people and things happen. So I speak over you and I say that none of you shall experience domestic violence. Receive it, receive it. You will all come out closer to your spouses and to your children. On that note, I think I've said enough, and I open for any questions. Yeah, Purity, back to you. Any questions?
Yes, thank you so much, Dorothy. We have a few questions so far that we have received. If you have any other questions, we have about, you can hear me, right?
Yes, we can.
Okay. If you have any other questions, feel free to send them to us. On the chat box, I'm going to drop the link to the feedback forms for the training, for this particular training. Feel free to give us your honest feedback so that even as we plan future training, we can get the most out of the training. So the first question, Dorothy, you can answer this. Is it possible to be effective and not being efficient?
It is. It is very possible for you to be effective and not efficient. You can, okay, let me give an example. Give me an example of a task like writing a report. You effectively wrote a report. The report was supposed to be a report that is for this year. I mean, this month, the month of April. It was effective, but efficiency states that you did it last minute. If you're not efficient, you did it last minute. So what will happen? You will do it haphazardly. It might affect, or that report, if you're not working efficiently, you prioritized other things and you ended up doing that report the end of next month, which honestly, it's not really going to help anyone make the right decisions regarding the company. Efficiency is about doing the right things within the right amount of time. Efficiency speaks of, brings in the time aspect. Time, I like discussing we always talking about the 80-20 rule. Remember, 80-20 rule states that you do 80. You get 80% of the results with 20% of the effort. That is efficiency. If I want to cook cake, for example, the cake is very small. Maybe it's the size of, you can see my hands. The cake is very small. The oven is this big. Effectiveness says that that cake will get cooked, right? But efficiency says, look at the size of the oven, look at the size of the cake. What else can you put in that oven so that it maybe make 3-4 more of those cakes so that you're maximizing on that oven? So yes, there's a difference between being effective and being efficient. I don't know if I've answered the question.
Yeah, I think you have answered. I just think you just need to have a balance between the two. Like, as much as I'm being effective, how efficient am I? So I hope everyone is able to access the feedback form. I've just posted it on the chat box. We'll take another question. This one, Dorothy, how often should a supervisor keep calling for updates? I think this is a concern from an employee who feels that their supervisors are suffocating their team by calling so many times that they disorient the person from their schedules. Does a supervisor need to call every 5 minutes?
I think I want to play devil's advocate a bit here. First of all, like you have said, these are unprecedented times. And this, depending on your age bracket, especially the older people I know, are struggling a bit with this online thing. So they are finding it, like when I explained to my mother that I'm teaching people online, she doesn't quite understand it. She's like, how do you speak into your phone and you're teaching a whole class of 70 people? It doesn't make any sense. So if you don't understand that, you'll feel the need to constantly keep checking to see kweli kazi inasonga. Secondly, to be completely honest, your boss knows you very well. Knows, yeah? The supervisor knows who among my team I need to keep checking on and who I don't. Because if I don't check on so and so, hii mwezi itaisha nitamuuliza na atasema sikuwa na bundles, or mtoto alikuwa anasumbua, mtoto alikuwa mgonjwa. They know you. A good leader knows that information is power. They know their team. So I don't want to come and say, don't, supervisors, stop checking on your people. What I will say is, as an employee, it is your responsibility to show your boss that you are trustworthy. It's like a child, even in your house. You know which child you can trust. Even if you go to the market and come back, they'll be okay. And you know which child, if you step out even 2 minutes, you come back, the sugar has been poured, mafuta, nini, the glasses have been broken. That child is the one who is going to show you how much you can trust them. So I'm not calling you children, but I'm just saying, as an employee, it is your responsibility to prove to your boss that I am not, you don't need to check up on me so much. Yeah, that is what I will say.
Okay, maybe to add on that point, maybe what will help you is create a schedule, a check-in schedule. Like the time I was speaking about smarter goals, define the timeline very clearly. Like, I'm giving you a task, it's going to take 2 days. Let us check in after 2 days, for example. Or let's check in after 1 hour, because I know every other task at work normally comes with a timeline. Just be very specific, because I'm tending to think if you check in on me every 5 minutes, I might not get as much work done. Yes. Unlike the time you check in on me after 2 days. That's my thought. So maybe the supervisor and the employee, they need to come up with a clear check-in schedule. Like, we'll be talking every other week on Wednesday. Let's keep that in mind. So by Wednesday, you know, I need to create this whole entire report for my own supervisor to go through. We have another question from Purity. Shed some light on how to adopt change. Dorothy, you want to pick that?
How to adopt to change?
Yes.
Adapt to change. First of all, just in addition to the question that you have mentioned before, there are apps, by the way. There are applications that are being used these days to manage employee productivity. Yeah. I know that there's somewhere, if you're supposed to be at your computer, you're supposed to, it monitors, you have to constantly be at your, I mean, it's a bit a cake, but you have to constantly be, it can see if you are on your computer or not. There are applications. So if you're constantly logging in your hours in the application, all the supervisor has to do is look at the application and see who has been working and who has not. It's about finding the one which is best for you. Adapting to change. Change affects people differently. It depends on your personality, it depends on your age, it depends on your experiences, it depends on many things. But when it comes to adapting to change, it has to be a personal effort. You have to make it a personal, make it such that the adapting is up to you, not to other people. Many times when change happens, it's easy to blame other people for what is happening. You can go about complaining, oh, no one told me this, that, and the other. But if you have the right attitude and decide that, okay, change has happened, let me adjust to it, you will be okay. This is something that is, I can give you pointers, but the key word is attitude. Have the attitude for change. They usually say there are only 2 constants in life, is 3 actually. They say it's death, change, and taxes. once you understand that, when change happens, you're not going to be shocked. As we are speaking, changes are happening. Even the disease, they're saying it's mutating. They're saying it has gotten to the point where it is getting even airborne, where I'm in this room and someone is in the other room, if there's air conditioning, it can move to the other room. Even diseases change. Get to your mind to the attitude of, okay, change is happening. What can I learn from it? How can it make me better? It's a question of attitude. That, I think, is what I would say.
All right. For me, I'll just put in a little bit more on change. By adapting to change, I think you also have to live in the moment. Because me too, 2 months ago, if you could have told me we'll be doing online webinars, I could have laughed at your face, But it came. The first week was like, oh no, my business is collapsing. The second week, the third week, I was like, we need to adapt to change. And I'll tell you for free, we've done about 4 or 5 webinars now, and we've reached more people than we've ever reached on our physical classes. That is what change brings to us, because you just have to be able to live in that particular moment. It's COVID-19, sour, you move on with it. It is raining, sour, you put on a coat and you go outside. So you just have to be able to live in that particular moment. I know some changes are very difficult, or they put you in very awkward positions, but you have to make the difficult decisions to be able to adapt to change. Dorothy, we have another question. How should those check-ins happen as a group, in one-on-ones or via phone or video chats? That is one question on the check-ins. I think, can you hear vibrations on your end?
Myself?
Yes.
No.
Okay, I don't know, on my end it's vibrating too much. But I think this issue of checking, you just have to be able to create a check-in schedule. Because that is one concern. There's also another question from another person, I think also on the check-in issue. Most requests have turned out to be emergencies, requiring immediate response. That's creating pressure. How can someone handle this effectively? Dorothy?
The check-ins, check-ins in terms of checking on the employees.
Yeah, like follow-ups, like how often should these follow-ups happen?
Okay, it depends on the nature of the job. It depends also on the level of the employee. The people who are, the general employees, it's okay. You can call a Zoom meeting and say, just broadcast and, give instructions in general. But the higher you go, especially with more responsibility, the check-ins, and it goes back against the schedule. You know that on Wednesday we always have a meeting, and we have to give feedback to our supervisors and explain certain things. It's up to you to decide. Especially, like, for example, if you're a supervisor or you're a manager, you decide, okay, every Monday I'm going to check in on my supervisors, and you meet with the supervisors. Depending on on their responsibility, you can meet each one separately, or you can meet all of them together. Please never disregard, never look down on the power of group meetings. When you meet as a group every now and then, it helps with problem solving. It helps to give each other ideas, pointers. It helps to open up your mind to new possibilities. When you're creating the schedule for checking in, make sure that you have a schedule for group meetings, you have the ones for individual meetings. It all depends on the supervisor as they go along. It's as you're the ones who understand your business better. And checking in, I'm seeing it like it may be a challenge to some people, because no one, grown-ups don't like being checked up on. I understand that. But as you understand your business, you adjust these things to accommodate each group as you go along. I don't know if that makes sense. You as a supervisor or you as a leader, you're supposed to make adjustments accordingly based on your team.
Okay, I agree with you. Like, but the question of phones or video chats, I think also is dependent on the supervisor and the employee. So you might decide, we'll do a video call this week, we'll do a phone call next week, depending on how exactly, even your level of relationship with your manager or supervisor really determines a lot how you're able to take it further from there. We have another question. Should we adjust our work expectations at this time?
Should we adjust our work expectations?
Yes.
Of course, there are a lot of things that we have to adjust to. We know that business in general in the world, not just in Kenya, is not running as usual. However, you have to make sure that at the end of this whole season, when you do a self-evaluation and someone asks you, do you think you gave the best that you could have, regardless of the circumstances, you ought to be able to say yes. If you do a self-evaluation right now, are you the kind of employee who is always looking for excuses? Because if you look for excuses, they will be there. Or are you the kind of person who is thinking, is solution-oriented? You're thinking, okay, right now the customers are also struggling, but there is still a way that maybe you are not getting, like I said, 100 customers. Maybe you're getting 20. Money is still flowing, surprisingly enough. There's still money flowing in the economy. It's just about how to be innovative and to think about where to get those customers from. So if it's adjusting our expectations 100%, I think it would not be fair for you as a supervisor to not adjust your expectations somewhat. However, expectations still have to be there. Standards still have to be there. At the end of the day, after this whole thing is over, Adrian still has to exist. With me, for example, with my students, education still has to be there. My students still have to do an exam. We will still have to continue. Eventually, they will still have to graduate. How that will be achieved, the results will be achieved, the how might change, but the expectations generally will not. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I totally agree with you. We just have to adjust somehow our work expectations, because I think it's very stressful. Even for myself, I still find it still very stressful. As much as there is nothing much going on, but there's a huge external stress factors that could also interfere with work. So I think I agree with you. We can somehow adjust our work expectations, but that does not mean we can't work with expectations. You set the expectations right, then we can go. We have another question. I think this is the last one. How do you deal with overworking at home? Most of the time, I find myself working without taking breaks and going very late into the night.
Okay, this again goes back to the self-discipline thing. Remember when you were talking about scheduling, you're also supposed to schedule in a break. As much as you have the discipline to work, you also have to have the discipline to take a break. You have to take otherwise, you have to still be healthy enough to survive this pandemic. And overworking also is affecting your immunity. One of the things that the pandemic likes is a low immunity. Remember also, this is a season where for many people, they're taking a break, they're taking a breather. Don't come out of this more tired than you came out of, that you came into it. Pace yourself, delegate if you're a supervisor. I know that as much as you are working hard, there might be some other people who don't have as much workload as you. Find a way to delegate some of that work. It's not healthy that you're working from dusk till dawn. Even if you are still going to the office, it's not healthy for anyone. You have to really, and Jen, I don't know who you are, but I tend to find that people who tend to overwork like that tend to be people who like to hold on to a lot of things. You're almost like micromanaging. You want to hold on to, it's like, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. But think about it this way. God forbid, something is to happen to you today and you're not there. What will happen to that work if you're not there? Will it still go on? It will, but what will happen? You will not be there. That's the only difference. Think about it like that. Think about your well-being. A healthy employee is a more productive employee. Think about your health. Think about your relationships. Think about your, even from when working at home, there's still work-life balance. Remember, you still have to be in touch with your surroundings. And yeah, if I wish you were my friend, you come and sit here and we plan together, but I can't do that. It's you who knows your life better, but you need to now find out, what can I handle myself? What can I hand over to someone else to help me out with?
Okay.
Yes.
Just a little bit input on that, because I think I'm also a victim of overworking. But I think you do that out of boredom, especially if you live alone. You look around the house, you're like, sasa nifanye nini? And when you take your laptop, you find you work until midnight. So I think it's also a matter of discipline. Come up with a timetable. I'll be working from whatever time you wake up, maybe 5. I doubt if these days people wake up at 5. Maybe at 7 or at 8, you slot in a bit of time for breakfast. Do your meals away from your laptop. That one will give you a distraction. Because if you have tea with your laptop on the same table, you're more prone to do more work than have more tea. So it's and look for other ways to entertain yourself. I know that because I'm a victim of the same. Like, if there's nothing else going on, I just take my laptop and I find some work to do. So just try to see if you are able to get other things to entertain you outside of work. Take a walk, go for a run, do jogging, do some house exercises. I think that will help you take your mind from work.
Put on YouTube videos for exercise. Indoor aerobics. That's what I've been doing lately.
Yeah. So I don't think we answered this question.
Okay.
Most requests have turned out to be like emergencies, requiring immediate response, thus creating pressure. How can someone handle this effectively?
Most have become emergencies. Okay.
Yeah, any request that is coming like an emergency.
Okay. Well, you resolve, if you feel overwhelmed, again, this is the time to ask for help. Just because you're working alone from home does not necessarily mean that you're alone. You're still a team member. When you're having your next group meeting and discussion, maybe raise it in that meeting and say, I'm a bit overwhelmed. All of the requests that are coming in are urgent. And I'm getting to the point where even at my best, I'm not able to handle them. Is there a way that someone else can step in and help me out? I don't see why people would not be willing to be able to help you out. And you know, the thing about such a crisis is, you know, the time when there's a peak, like they spike. Usually, like from someone like me who has worked in customer service before, there's usually a certain time where the problems shoot up. Like maybe, for example, if you're working in like insurance, for example, many people, the spike usually comes during when kids have closed, or when the weather is not so good, like during June. Now people's immunities are low. You are able to gauge the environment and tell that at this time the problems will, we used to call them a spike. The problems will spike. During that time, speak up. You don't get any medal for suffering quietly. I know some people usually get scared and they say, if I ask for help, it's a sign that I'm incompetent. No, not necessarily. It just means that at this particular time, there's a lot that needs to be done. Once that crisis is over, you can go back to doing the work by yourself. What is better? At the end of the day, the company has to be there, right? And the most important thing is to handle the customers the best way possible. What happens if you're not able to sort out the customers, and then the customers start complaining? We're constantly reaching out and no one is helping. Then you lose customers. What will happen? Think about the bigger picture. So ask for help, and others should be able to be willing to step in where necessary.
All right. My input there, I think, is more on supervisors or the managers or the leaders. This I read it from Harvard Business Review. They were saying at this point, managers are selective and unconsciously selective. If they know Purity doesn't have a child, they allocate more work to me. Unlike someone who has, like they have 5 children, all the children are at home, they are married, they have issues. So this is unconscious selection. So I don't know if you're having all these business emergencies out of that, but now it has become a concern for management. Like the people that we know, they don't have children, or they live alone, or they are single, or they don't have much obligations, they are allocated more work, unlike the people who have distractors, children, wives, husbands, whatever. So look at it, especially this could be a challenge to the managers or the leadership of the agent. Are we setting these emergencies because other people who were allocated the work to did not do it? So we choose to send out work to those we think they are free, So that is it. One final question. We should be ending up any minute from now. How do you handle tasks that require support from multiple teams whose mindset is that the task has no instant impact on the business, which leads to untimely delivery, and when followed up, it appears pressure of some sort or emergency?
Every task is important. Every task in an organization, every job is important. If the tea girl does not show up to the office one day, you see how the chaos happens. If the watchman doesn't show up at the gate, people just come in as they want. I think maybe what happens when such things occur is a culture has been created whereby some people think they're more important than others. Some departments feel like they're more important than others. And it happens. There are many companies where you will go and maybe you see, I've seen, especially like the sales department. The sales department, usually they're the best dressed people. They have the latest hairstyles. They're the fanciest looking. And it's easy for you to look in the corner and say, hey, look at those salespeople. Mimi na hii nguo yangu reja reja. Who am I? But I think it is important for the organization to create a culture that makes everyone proud of their task. Everyone's role matters. Parting that out, this is where the reward system has to come into place, where everyone every now and then has a pat on the back and is told, we want to appreciate the IT team for what they did last week. They got us out of that crisis. We want to appreciate the cleaners. The water flooded in the office the other day and they stepped it and they cleaned the place. We want to appreciate the CEO. Sometimes even the CEO forgets himself, by the way. Every now and then, it's nice to appreciate the CEO and buy him a cake or something like that. Everyone is important. If you are not important, you would not be there in the first place. Now, that being said, if once the ball has dropped, it is important. At the end of the day, when things go wrong, everyone is affected by a crisis. All hands usually are on deck, and everyone is supposed to step in and fix the problem. But what we are hoping that is that does not happen. We're trying to prevent the problem before it happens. And that comes from everyone understanding that their role is important.
Right. I think my final comment there is, whoever is sending these instructions or this particular task is more concerned on the prosperity of the organization, because today we are laying seeds or ground for the future of Adrian. I think that's where the person whoever is doing this is coming from. Like, we must do something today to survive tomorrow, and the day after, and the month after. And especially when the team is not able to see their vision or where they're coming from, you could see like, this is not important. It's not important today. So I'll encourage you, especially if you're communicating goals, tasks, visions, let them be as clear as possible and say it's not for today, but it will help us in another month to come, 2 months to come, because the uncertainty is there. You're not so sure. And today, a lot of us, especially if you are a business owner or a business leader, you are trying to experiment as much as possible so that you are able to stand on a very firm ground coming to the future. So I think I'll stop there. Dorothy, you have anything else to say?
I think we've covered everything. I wish everyone the best. Please stay safe. Enjoy, make the best out of this situation. I think that is the advice that I would give, because God forbid, we don't think it shall ever happen again. So yeah, make the best out of it.
For sure. All right. Thank you so much, Dorothy, even for your time, your experience you've shared with us, the expertise. I hope it will help Adrian move a step further into the future. For me, it's a lot of thanks to Rhoda and Teresia from the HR team for even thinking about us to organize such a webinar. I hope you've learned as much from us. And we hope for future collaborations between our two organizations. Feel free to fill the feedback form. We've already shared a link. I don't know if Rhoda had shared on your emails, but we hope to receive the feedback so that we can even plan better forums in the future. Rhoda?
Yes. Thank you very much, Purity and Dorothy. That was an insightful session. So I've shared the feedback survey on the WhatsApp platform.
Okay.
You can still log in and give your feedback there. So we believe that we shall continue also to partner in many other avenues. Thank you very much for heeding to our request. That was great. To our teams, thank you for availing yourself. I know we've taken a little bit of your time, but I'm sure you're going to recover it. Just mention a few things. Am I clear? Someone to just respond.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay, so as Adrian, adaptability is our core value. So let's all adapt and adapt very fast, because you all know that speed is one of also our core value to the current situation. We are going to sail through. Maybe to highlight a few things that I've captured from the training. Apart from having the SMART goal, the SMARTer, the true extra, which is evaluate and reward. So let's constantly evaluate our input, our tasks, our work, and also let's see how we can reward each other. Maybe in teams, team leaders, to increase collaboration within the teams, let's get ways to reward each other. Acknowledge each and everyone's effort, and I know we shall overcome. So we have embarked on a performance tracking tool. I think that will be shared by your team leaders. So there's a performance tracking tool that is currently being rolled out by our software development team. Just have that in mind, that the KPI, follow the KPIs, appraisal will still happen. Let's keep ourselves accountable even at this time when no one is watching, because we've been entrusted. So let's maintain and the result-oriented culture, and it shall be well with us. So maybe to remind you, in case of anything, we still have the online counseling program ongoing. Teresa had shared that. We had shared that on everyone's message. Talk to us. We still have the HR clinics every Friday. You are free to contact us, not only on Fridays, anytime in case of any support. We are here to support you as the HR department. So thank you. Any other question before we call it a day? Oh, you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Any comment, any question from the teams? So if we do not have any question, just to appreciate you, thank you very much. We shall keep you updated in case of any changes, any plans, any more trainings, any more webinars, we shall let you know. Asante sana Purity and Dorothy.
Asanteni sana.